Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Marco Podcast.
Dedicated to the realness of organization and entrepreneurship. This space was created for every woman who needs motivation or inspiration to get organized and to keep going after her dream. I'm your host, Angel J. Sit back and prepare for valuable tips, resources, laugh, and much more. If this is your first time here, welcome and thanks for joining. If you've been hanging around for a while, welcome back, and I hope you brought a friend. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode. Today, I am talking with Kate Evans. Kate is a decluttering coach as well as a licensed therapist. In her work as a psychologist, she has been passionate about women's empowerment. She now uses that same passion to help women to care for themselves through caring for their homes. Kate is the owner of Soulful Space, where she sees decluttering clients virtually. Y'all know I have my words that I trip over sometimes. After she decluttered her own home in 2018, Kate realized that all of the work she had done on her mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual self was what gave her the space to let go of the limiting beliefs that had kept her stuck and allowed her to create not only the life she wanted, but also a home she loved. She knew she had to help other women feel the same relief and pride that came with shedding the overwhelming and shame of clutter that she felt. In addition to being a decluttering coach and psychologist, Kate is also a trained yoga instructor, a punk rocker, and the proud fur mama of two calico cats, Ruby and Soho. Everyone, let's welcome Kate. Hi, Kate. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thank you, Kate, so much for being here. I know it has been a journey. We've had some reschedulings and I've had some mishaps going on here before we got started. So thank you for being here, and I'm excited to talk decluttering with you. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we get started?
Oh gosh, you know what? I feel like that encapsulated things really beautifully. I like I feel like I need to like take notes and write that down again. It's like that said it right there. So yeah, let's go. Let's do
Let's
this.
go. All right, cool. Let's do it. So, okay, before we get started, so how old are your cats?
They are 3.5 years old. They're litter mates. They love each other very, very much. But Ruby is particularly attached to me and kind of won't leave me alone. And she, actually may jump up on my lap while we're talking.
Okay, no problem. So I'm actually not a cat person. I'm actually currently working through my fear of cats.
Oh dear.
Yeah, well, so I've gotten like a lot better with it. Like I used to wouldn't even be able to like look at a cat or anything like that, but now I'm a lot better with it. I can look at a cat. I can be in the house with cats as long as I kind of know where they're at, but as you know with cats, you do not always know
No,
where
you
they're
do
at
not.
or where they're
No.
going to pop up at. So yeah, I'm a work in progress, but I've come.
Okay, so if I notice her, I will at least give you a warning because sometimes
Okay,
she
thank you.
jumps up very suddenly. So
Okay, yeah. So like, see, I know she's there, so now I'll kind of be like prepared for it. But had I have not known that you had a cat or cats, if it had to just like jumped up, if she had to just jumped up in the middle of you, probably would have heard me scream. I was recording with the lady one day, and she had like this beautiful like backdrop and every like her office window and stuff like that. And it was just such a pretty background. And as we got towards the end of the recording, I was like, there's a cat back there, and I bet that cat has been sitting there the entire
always
time.
flushed.
I was like, that would never happen with a dog. A dog would never do that. They're gonna let you know that
Mhm,
they're there.
mhm.
So, okay, cool. And are they both girls?
They are, yes.
Okay. Okay, awesome. So, how long have you been a psychologist?
About 20 years now,
Okay.
actually. Mhm.
Okay. And how did you is that what you went to school? Well, obviously you went to school for
I
it, but
did go to school for that. Um, I actually originally went to school. I have a bachelor's of fine arts, and I started out as a graphic designer,
oh,
and I took a few twists and turns and ended up in my late 20s going back to grad school to become a psychologist, and then just kind of the road kept on going from there.
okay. And so then you
Mhm.
got into being a decluttering coach. So how long have you been a decluttering coach?
So, I've been doing the decluttering coaching, gosh, I don't know what, 5 years. I mean, I've had Soulful Space itself has officially been open since 2020, but
Okay.
I started foisting decluttering coaching upon my therapy clients long before that. Um,
Understand.
but it was in 2018, I had done a lot of my own therapy, my own coaching, and everything. I had done and just a lot of work on myself. And I had one day I looked at one of the drawers in my bedroom where I had tank tops. And I don't know if you've ever tried to figure out how to organize tank tops in a drawer, but it doesn't work.
It
They
does
just
not.
they do not want to organize themselves.
No.
And I got mad at them and decided I was going to organize this drawer, pulled everything out, got rid of half of them, and then did the Marie Kondo file folding of them, and was so enamored of this beautiful drawer that I had that was now only half filled with tank tops that managed to actually turn into 2.5 months of decluttering my entire house. And there was a day when I stood in my kitchen, and my kitchen had been like, I was a slob. I was a self-professed slob. Like I was like, this is it. I was born a slob. I'm going to die a slob. This is just the way
Right.
things are going to go. But that was one of those limiting beliefs that you mentioned earlier. And I was not a slob. I was just somebody who didn't know how to take care of my home. And when I got rid of all the extra stuff all over the place, I figured out that I didn't have to have dishes perpetually in my sink, and I could have a kitchen that I could clean up super easy after dinner, and I could wipe down my counters super easy and always have clean dishes. And I had cleaned up after dinner one night and stepped back and looked at this. I have a small kitchen, and it's nothing fancy. It's, all builder grade stuff. It's really nothing you're going to write home about or anything.
Right.
But I stepped back and looked at it and was like, this is amazing. I love this. And I felt so good. And I went, everyone needs to feel this amazing. And it's been decluttering coaching ever since.
Okay. I love that.
Mhm.
Yeah. And sometimes, you need that little boost of confidence, or you're like, okay, I can do this. Like I said, I'm not a slob. I just been living kind of slobbish ways, but that can easily be
Kind of,
corrected.
sort of. Girl, like, oh, you have no idea. I can tell you stories. I mean, if we want to just spend like all of our time together, or me telling you really horrifying stories about things that I did prior to, figuring out how to live in a non-slobbish way, like we could just do that. But, um, like if you're a listener and you are somebody who thinks, I just can't do this. I don't know how to keep my house. I try to clean it and it always falls apart again. Or I've tried to declutter. I've tried this. I've tried that, and it never seems to work. I promise you, the all that is going on is you, one, have too much stuff that you don't actually want, use, love, etc. And two, you don't have the right systems in place, the ones that work for you. And you can have a house that is tidy and under control. I promise you. It does take some work, and it takes some doing, and it takes some figuring out, but anybody can have this. Because if I could, because it was rough. It was super rough before. You can too.
Okay, so now I want to hear at least one story about how
Mm.
rough it was. At least one thing, Kate. Give us something here.
Okay. Do you want something, you want something kind of gross?
Sure, let's go for it.
Okay. All right. So this was before I lived with my husband. I was living in a little one-bedroom apartment in Chicago, and I had two different cats back then.
Okay.
And I was leaving to go out of town for a long weekend to visit my dad down in Florida. So it's just going to be gone for a few days. And if you have cats, you know that you can just leave a crazy amount of dry food and lots of bowls of water out for them, and they will survive without you for a few days. This is one of the joys of cats. It's different than
So I've
dogs.
heard. Yes, so I've heard.
So I I left, and I left dishes in the sink, first of all, because that was just what I always did. There were always dishes in my sink. But that's not the disgusting thing. Left garbage in the garbage bin. Always did. That's not the disgusting thing. It was the when I came back, it was that when I came into my kitchen, next to the kitchen sink, there was a can that had originally had wet cat food in it. And when I looked at it, it was moving. Yeah, it shouldn't have been moving. It was moving because it had some wet cat food in it, and there were maggots in it. Yeah, okay. So we're just going to move on from that. I cleaned that up, I tossed it out and everything. So, yeah, that's what happens, that you miss things like that when you have stuff everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah.
You will miss things like that when you go out of town, especially when you don't clean. Yeah.
Yes.
So, but you would think something like that would have shocked my system into like, oh my goodness, we're going to clean things. Did I clean, like do like the overhaul cleaning of my apartment every once in a while? Of course I did. And then it would fall to ruin again because I didn't have systems in place.
Mm.
I do an overhaul cleaning after that. Honestly, I do not remember. But I just, this was how I lived. I always had dishes in the sink. There was a perpetual science experiment in my kitchen sink. I would just kind of like hose them down. You know, I grew up always having to hand wash dishes. And I think I just like didn't want to ever wash dishes because of that. And even when we moved into a place that had a dishwasher, I would load up the dishwasher, and there would still be dishes in the sink. And so I just hose those down, and then others would pile on top of it. Like, I'm serious. This was rough. Now, when I moved in with my husband, he just asked that I stop leaving dishes in the living room.
The living room, Kate? What?
Yes. Yes.
Why
Oh,
would what?
girl, when I say slob, I mean slob. But here's the thing, is since 2018, my kitchen is clean every single day. My dishwasher is emptied every single day. My bed is made every single day. My laundry is done. There is nothing on my floors. It does the kitchen table pile up with stuff every once in a while. Of course it does. Everybody's does.
Yeah, mine does
But
too. Yeah.
mail does not pile up. There is no such thing as piling up in my house. That is not a thing. My pantry is in order at all times. I can find things. Things do not get lost in my house.
Things get lost in my house, but that's because the two people that I live with don't put stuff back where it belongs. So
Yeah, and that's where really large labels that with like red arrows that say put it here. Yeah, no, that just
no,
not even.
still wouldn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
still wouldn't work. But I'm with you on that. Yeah, I
Uh-huh.
got you. Okay. Well, I mean, you went from slob to systems, so
Yeah, I call it. What did I call it? I think I called myself like a decluttering maven or something like that at some point. It was something better than that, but maven was
okay.
involved. But yes, but
Maven.
slob systems, actually, I like that a lot.
Okay. Slob to systems. There we go.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Hmm.
And so I know you said that like the pivotal moment for you was with the tank tops. Do you feel like there was anything else that was like kind of leading up to it, like before the whole thing happened with the tank tops, that you start to notice like things that normally didn't bother you start to kind of bother you some?
It wasn't so much that it was. I don't know that I would say that it was so much that like things were bothering me. It was, I mean, I think things had been bothering me. Things were always bothering me. I think anybody who lives in a cluttered home can say that things are perpetually bothering them. There, the stack of stuff at the top of my stairs was always bothering me. Stuff that was the Tupperware that would fall out of the kitchen cabinet onto my head was always bothering me. But it was more so that I had been on a path to improve my self care, improve my boundaries in my life, to set aside more time for myself, to, um, was taking care of my physical health. I I was taking care of all of this. It's this holistic care for one's health. And that's the thing, is that taking care of your home is self care. And people don't really think about it that way. You don't think about the fact that cleaning your kitchen is self care. You think about cleaning your kitchen as a task. You think of it as this, oh gosh, this thing like the dishes, they just get dirty every day. And it's this awful thing that, and your mindset about it becomes really negative. But if you think about it as doing the dishes is this self-care act, this really positive thing to do for yourself. It was more so that I was working toward this place of a mindset that was really about caring for myself and wanting something different for myself, and understanding that I could have something different for myself, believing that I could actually do something different for myself. That belief in myself had never been there. Even just the idea that I could do something different had never been there before. So doing this kind of build up of work really was what got me there. And I'm going to admit too that it was YouTube.
Okay.
I had part of my self-care had been, so I don't see clients on Fridays. So had been working out on Fridays for quite some time, and I decided, you know what? I'm going to give my body a break every other Friday. So we're
Okay.
not going to work out on Fridays. We're going to like simmer down. We're going to sleep in. This is going to be this like whole new concept. And so I would lie in bed. I don't happen to have children, so I don't have anybody who's tugging at me in the morning. Um, and I discovered YouTube. Now, when I say I discovered YouTube, I had not understood why YouTube was so popular. I was like, why would people watch these videos? What is this thing? I don't get it. I seriously, I really had missed the concept of YouTube. And then
And now
I
you're probably
discovered it
like, I
one
wish I
day.
had have not figured it out.
Right? Except that I like going down some rabbit hole one day, I discovered this one woman, Brittany Vassar, who was at the time, she was really focusing on cleaning and household systems. And I believe since then she's doing different things than that. But at this time in 2017, 2018, that's really what she was focusing on. And that kind of led me to another woman. I can we use swear words?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. How to get your shit together
Okay.
is her YouTube channel, and she was doing a lot of organizing, and she showed how to do the Marie Kondo folding thing.
Okay.
And then I found someone else, and I was like fascinated by this. I just was watching hours and hours of organizing and decluttering videos. And it was just like I became possessed by these women who were doing these really interesting things with, organizing. It was like this whole new concept that apparently other people had heard of that I had not. And
So wait a minute. How did I miss this? What, this is something new I've never.
why did no one tell me this was a thing?
Of all the things they told me in life, no one told me that I could actually be organized and declutter stuff. Like, what?
This is wild. My goodness. And so it just, having been in this mental and emotional place of being more open to changing something, taking better care of myself and putting better boundaries in place and all this, and then being introduced to this kind of very different way of self-care, taking care of my home, kind of it all mushed together and, turned into decluttering my home. And that was exactly how it happened. And thank goodness that it did, because my life is very different because of it. Because that same year, after I decluttered my home, it was already set in motion, but it was that same year I went through yoga teacher training. And so that entire year of 2018 was the biggest personal transformation I had ever gone through. It was incredibly painful, I will tell you that, but it was some of the best personal pain one could go through. And I have never been the same since, in the best possible ways ever. And I was about to say I highly recommend it to everybody, but I'm not necessarily saying that everybody should go out and get trained as a yoga teacher. That's a whole thing unto itself. But it's just taking care of yourself. Of course, we all say that self-care, it's this like big buzzword, right? Across the planet, self-care. What I'm going to say is take care of the space you live in. It's like you eat there, you take care of your children there, you're raising them there, you sleep there, you come home from work into this space, you just everything. This is your life is happening inside of these walls. And it is worth the time. And once you get those systems in place, it actually doesn't take as much time as one would think to keep it under control. It does, like I was saying earlier, it does take some time and effort up front, but it is so worth it. So worth it.
Yes, it definitely is. And you hit 2 points that I want to talk about. So one, we said if you don't you're not saying everyone should go out and become a yoga instructor. So I've talked about this before. So I recently, like end of last year, I went to goat yoga for the first time because I had been wanting to try it out. And so I did goat yoga, absolutely loved it. And I was like, okay, I really want to like take up yoga and do yoga because I'd done it years before and didn't like it. And I was like, oh, this is so fun. And this is like really relaxing. And I've done like a couple of yoga classes before I did the goat yoga, but after goat yoga, I was like, I really, really want to get into like doing yoga more. So I'm the type of person that I get an idea in my head and then I just I run with it. Like I don't try to start off small. You know how they say you got to crawl before you can walk. And nope, I go straight to, ooh, there's this interesting thing here. Let me go run a marathon here. So I was like, yoga. I was like, maybe I should become a certified yoga instructor. I was like, I didn't do it. Thank goodness. Like, I don't know how I wrote myself back into it. But Kate, when I tell you I was over here, like looking up where first I started off, I was like, okay, let me like look up yoga classes. And then I was like, forget yoga classes. I'm just going to become a yoga instructor. So I'm over here like Googling how to become a yoga instructor and how much does it cost to get a certification and trying to figure out how I can work it into my schedule and all the things, Kate. And I was like, here you go again, Angel. You're about to overcommit yourself and take on. You're about to bite off more than you can chew. I was like, maybe you should start consistently doing yoga first before you just decide that you're going to be a yoga instructor. You know, that might be kind of helpful.
I would say do some consistent yoga first. I would say that, just for a little bit. And then if you are, interested in really getting into it and like digging your teeth into the philosophy of it and really digging into yourself and your psyche and everything, go for it. But maybe wait until your kids are a little older because it takes a lot of time and energy.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I have an eight. I just have one kid. I have the 8-year-old son, so that's it. But yeah, I was like, I should probably be a little bit more consistent. Maybe I should go to yoga more than once every 6 months, 2 years before I decide that I'm just going to become a full blown yoga instructor over here. So yeah, that's on
I
my
love
list of
it.
things.
I love it.
My list of things to do when I figure out, what's going on in my life here.
Uh-huh.
So, and so the other thing that she talked about was like having systems in place. So, and you also mentioned that, systems are different for everyone. So what works for one person may not
Yeah.
work for another person. So one, how can you get started putting systems into place if this is something you've never done before, but you want to do? And then two, how do you figure out what systems work for you? Because as you said, there's so many different organizing methods out there.
Oof. Okay. Um, First of all, I'm going to say start small.
Okay.
I would say that for anything, if you're going to go out and purchase anything to help with an organizing system, say you want to organize your pantry, I'm going to recommend going to your dollar store and utilizing items from your dollar store to help you to organize things to start with, so that you can kind of get an idea of, does this system work better for me? Like, do I like to have big bins versus small bins? Because
Okay.
that's a difference. Like, I like to have kind of larger bins versus smaller bins. Some people like to have smaller bins versus larger. Anyways, but the reason I say going to the dollar store is, if you start off and you go to the Container Store and you spend $30 per bin and you end up with a system that doesn't work for you, you've just spent a lot of money for something that doesn't work, and you're going to be a little upset. So there's this woman, Cassandra Arson, who wrote the book Clutterbug, and she actually has, I want to say, she's got a YouTube channel. I think she may have had a TV show at some point. She's got
I did
a.
a whole series on her.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I
Okay.
did a whole Clutterbug series on her. Yep, the different type of Clutterbugs.
Yeah,
Yep.
she's phenomenal. So when you're talking about systems, she's a great place to go to think about things, because she talks about visual simplicity, uh, visual visual or organizational simplicity or abundance. So, meaning, do you like to be able to see everything or see nothing? Do you like to have lots of small organizational like bins, or a few large organizational bins? That's kind of like really boiling it down into very small
Right.
definition. But that is a really good place to start as far as thinking about organization and systems, as far as those sorts of things. So in your kitchen, you might want to have, do you like to have all of your spices just kind of thrown into one large bin so that you just kind of paw through, kind of like a raccoon? Or do you like to have them, decanted into their individual little jars, and then placed into little pockets in a drawer or something like that? Like, what works for the way you operate the best? And you kind of have to figure that out. Now, systems are also about your routines. So you might think about what your morning routine is, what your evening routine is, what after school routines might be. Like, my morning routine is, I get up, feed cats, because goodness knows they take precedence. I empty dishwasher, do yoga, make bed, wash face, get dressed, do other things, et cetera, et cetera. It's eventually feed myself and start work. For somebody else, their system or their routine in the morning, their system is going to look different than that. It's about what works for you. I'm a morning person. You give me a few hours in the morning, I can conquer the world. Other people, they're not going to like mornings as much, so they're not going to want their system in the morning to involve quite as much.
Okay.
I want to be in bed and, kind of 9:30, 10 o'clock, and don't expect anything productive out of me in the evening. Other people, they're going to be the ones who are going to conquer the world in the evening. Know what kind of person you are. This is a very important when you're talking about any sort of system you're going to be putting into place, whether it's a routine, organization, any sort of thing, is be very, very honest about who you are. Do not go and try to do what your mother or your neighbor does. Do what works for you. Now, if what your mother or your neighbor does is totally your jam, rock on, do it. But if what they do just is not like the sort of thing that's going to work for you, don't try to force it. You can try it, run the experiment. I love running experiments. But if it doesn't work for you, let it go, move on to something else. You may have to guinea pig yourself a handful of times before you find the right thing. Nobody likes it when I say that because people want like the quick fix. They want the instant answer. I can't tell you that I'm going to find your instant answer, but my clients who work with me in coaching, we find their answers a little faster just because I'm able to kind of work with them, ask them a few questions here and there, and we can find their answers a little faster. But even so, we have to run some experiments. We've got to try a few things here and there. And when they come back to me after having tried something, I'll say, well, what worked? What didn't work? If something didn't work, let's throw it out. And then what did work, how can we build on that?
Okay. Yeah. I definitely learned that there wasn't just one way to organize when I was studying Cass's Clutterbug system because, like you said, at first it's just like, this is how you're supposed to organize. Like, this is how you're supposed to do it. And when I did my series on her system, I said, and I was like, oh, okay, it does make sense. People are different. So obviously our organizing methods and how we do things are going to be a little different. And it does take time to figure out your system. And then, once you figure out your system when you get married or you start living with someone, whether it's, spouse, roommates, or whatever, then if y'all have different systems, you have to figure that out as well. You have to figure out like how things are going to mesh with it. And so that can be a little trying and difficult, but you do have to come up with a system for it somehow, some way. So
the living with another human being is an important thing to address. And as with any relationship, it's about communication.
Yep.
If you're not communicating with your partner, what are we doing here in the first place?
Right.
So you got to talk to each other. You have to have understandings as to why we're doing things. Like in my house, my husband puts the dishes in the sink. Now the dishwasher is 6 inches away from the sink. One would think he could put things into the dishwasher. I don't care that he doesn't put them into the dishwasher. It is important to me to have the dishwasher run in the evening, and that's important to me. It does not bother me that I am putting the dishes in the dishwasher. It just isn't a problem in my eyes. I don't see it as I'm his, maid or anything like that. I don't have that mindset. It is important. Again, it's important to me that the dishes are done. We have a division of labor in our household. He does other things. It's about our communication and what each one of us takes care of. I could decide I'm angry about this thing. I don't know why I would decide that, but I could decide that. And it would just really just be upsetting and ruin my evening. But you've got to talk with your partner about how things are run in your house. And yes, what are your different styles? And so let's say you're setting your pantry up, and how are we going to make this so that this works and so that everyone's on board with this organizational system, so that the chips always get put back in the same place, you know? And finding the perfect system maybe is, we're looking for optimal, not perfect.
Yes. Yes.
But we do the best that we can to communicate with our partner as to how are we doing this and how do we make this so that this works. And if it's not working, we come together and go, hey, this isn't working. How can we improve this so that it does work? And we keep on coming back over and over again until we come up with the optimum solution, which isn't always going to be a perfect solution. I have not yet seen a perfect solution, but that communication, that actually talking to your partner, not just getting passive aggressive or snarky or holding back and just getting pissed off at them and not telling them why you're pissed off. Just if the system isn't working, say the system isn't working.
Right. Yeah.
So
you don't know unless you speak up about it.
You don't know unless you speak up. Yes, it is that simple. Everything that I just said in that tirade was just condensed into that beautiful one sentence. Thank you.
No problem. No problem at all. It's what I'm here for. So why do you think that it's so hard, or why is it so hard for people to follow through with decluttering?
So we have to believe that we deserve it. We have to believe that we are capable of it.
Okay.
We have to be inspired to do it. I don't like to say motivated. I'm a little tired of the word motivated. But we do have to feel inspired. My clients who come to me oftentimes come to me feeling very incapable, though. And as we work, they kind of trip over their own toes initially, and then they will pick up speed as they see themselves achieving things and they see themselves being capable and they see progress happening. And it's tough to feel inspired when you don't see anything happening and you just don't believe that anything can happen and you haven't seen anything actually work up to this point.
Okay.
So there has to be something that gives you a sense of hope too, and finding that thing that gives you a bit of hope can be a little elusive. And so that's where, just don't give up, guys. Keep running the experiments until you find the thing that works for you. And it may take a little bit of time. And yeah, it may take a little bit of time. I've got a whole extra thing about habits and how long they take, but I'm going to pause for a second.
We'll do another episode on that one. But I agree, because it's with anything, not just like decluttering or organizing, but like with anything that you're doing in life or that you're setting out to accomplish. Like, we just want stuff immediately, and we're just like, okay, I've been doing it for 5 minutes. Why is it not working yet? Or I've done it for 3 days. Like, why am I not organized yet? Well, depending on how, you said it took you like 2.5 months, I believe you said, to get everything, decluttered. And that was years of stuff that you had accumulated. And as you said, like I said, we're going to come back and do another episode talking about like how habits can feed into your decluttering and stuff. But years of stuff that you've accumulated, years of habits that you've gotten used to, years of trying systems that didn't work for you because that's how your mom did it or your friend did it, or that's how someone came to you and was like, oh, well, Kate, if you just do this, you'll get organized. And someone else came to you and said, no, Kate, do it this way and you'll get organized. And you're trying that and it's not working. And so it's frustrating, but it's because it's not you. It's not what works for you. And if no one ever tells you that there's more than friend A's way to organize. There's more than mom's way to organize. You don't know that. That's all you know. And it can be frustrating. So like you said, it does take time. You just have to remember to give yourself grace. And if you skip a
Yes.
day, or if you mess up a day or something like that, like, don't just call it quits. It's going to take more than a day, more than a week to undo years worth of clutter and habits and systems that you've learned. So
Exactly. And I just to pin on to that, the consistency of it doesn't have to be every single day, but it does have to have some level of consistency. Um, if it's every Thursday, I do an hour, and
okay.
that's you just do every Thursday for however long. One of my girlfriends did one item every day for 2 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's all
Okay.
she did. One item every day, 2 years. I thought it was a great way to do it. And that
Right.
was just what she came up with. And I will just say that just for context, the for in the 2.5 months, I have a 1,400 square foot home. I had 2 stories. I did not do my garage. I did not touch any of my husband's items. Um, and that's what was done in that 2.5 months.
Okay.
So just I do like to just throw that out there. So it's not like I did like some, 4,000 square foot home or something like that in
Yeah,
that
got
time.
you.
It's it did take quite a bit of time, and I work a full-time job, but I don't have kids, so I wasn't parenting at the time. So I like to just address some of those variables to create a sense of reality around what I achieved um, in my own initial decluttering journey. And decluttering, it is an ongoing process. Trust me,
Mhm.
I've continued to do a lot be- between then and now.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing that, and for giving that context, and also, sharing about your friend, because like you said, it looks different like to everyone. To someone else, one item for 2 years is that could be like, no, I need it done quicker than that. But that's what worked for her, for someone else doing it once a week, setting aside a Thursday at 6 p.m. to do that, perfect for them. Or I think I told my cousin one time, because she was actually on here when I did the clutter bug series. I tried to find someone who was each type of the bugs. I only found two of the bugs, but we were like talking. I was like, okay, every Wednesday from 6 o'clock to 6:30, like, you take that time to set aside and to organize. And I think she did good for like 2 weeks or something like that. And then she kind of fell off. I haven't even asked her where she's at with it now, because I kind of don't want to know. I'm kind of scared to find out, but you have to figure out what works for you, and just realize that someone else's decluttering accomplishments is not going to be yours, and however yours looks, as long as it's what works for you and you're happy with it, that's all that matters.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, Kate, is there anything else you'd like to share before we head out?
Um, I guess the last thought I would like to leave everyone with is to, as you had said, is to give yourself grace, to have faith in yourself that whatever it is that you want to accomplish for yourself, you set your goals, be realistic about them, be honest with yourself about who you are, and you can have what you want. Yeah, it might take some time, but you can still have it.
Okay. Well, thank you. And if people want to work with you to start on their decluttering journey, how can they get in contact with you and find you?
You can go to my website at soulfulspacecoaching.com, or you can find me on Facebook or Instagram at soulfulspace.coaching. And you can always email me at kate@soulfulspacecoaching.com.
Okay,
Oh, that's
awesome.
pretty easy.
Yep. I'll make sure I have all your links, and I'll make sure to get them linked in the
All right,
show notes.
fantastic.
Yes. So, well, Kate, thank you so much. I have enjoyed this conversation, and like I said, we're definitely gonna have to do conversation about habits and organizing and how we can build good habits around organizing or something like that. So
I would love that. Absolutely.
yes. Okay. Well, I'm also kind of a little disappointed that Ruby didn't come in and pay us a visit or anything.
Well, sometimes she gets a little crabby because I had her on my lap just prior to this, and I had to kick her off. So my guess is she's curled up outside my office at the top of the stairs, sulking.
Oh, so okay. I got. She
She's a
said she's
little
on.
diva.
Okay. Well, I used to have a little Yorkie, and so she was a diva as well. She had lots of attitude, and so I completely get it. So sorry about that, Ruby. She's all done now. You can come back whenever you want to. Okay, thank you so much, and I will chat with you again soon.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, Angel.
You're welcome. Okay. Make sure that you head over to Kate's website so that you can sign up for her newsletter, where she shares tips and ideas on how to keep your life and home decluttering journey on track. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Modco Podcast. I hope that you enjoyed this episode and learned something from it. Be sure to share this episode with a friend, family member, colleague, or anyone you think will enjoy it. Make sure you hit the follow or subscribe button. And if you love the podcast, please leave us a 5-star rating and review on your favorite podcasting app. That helps others to find us and gets us listed in other show recommendations. So you all know that I run on coffee, and so does the show. If you'd like to buy us a coffee, you can do so by clicking on the link in the show notes. Thank you so much, and chat soon.